Welcome to More Than. I'm your host, Kevin Carroll, powered by First Tech. And we're thrilled to have a tech maven with us today. So Rihana Mungin.
That's me.
Interim Executive Director.
Also true.
Of Portland Women in Tech, aka PDXWIT. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about PDXWIT?
So PDXWIT is a Portland-based nonprofit. We're focused on creating access, dismantling inequities, and fueling belonging in the tech industry. There is a noticeable gap when you walk into tech spaces and tech leadership and just tech jobs, and there are people that do not look like me in those spaces. There are people that, you don't see a lot of representation in folks who are LGBTQ+, who are out in their tech spaces. You don't see a lot of other BIPOC individuals or folks with physical disabilities. So we are trying to create a better tech industry by making it more inclusive for all people that need to be represented in tech. And we do that by a number of ways. A really big one is we have a ton of events to help build community. We have a scholarship program that we give out to folks who need that little extra bump to get into the tech industry. We have a mentorship program that's very robust that we can match people to help them reach those goals that they have. We have a lot of job fairs. We have resume reviews. We have ways to support people so not only can they dream about being in tech, we're giving them the steps. We've got the formula, we're breaking it down so that they can get those jobs. And then once those folks are in those spaces, we want to support them so they stay in those spaces. I have been involved with PDXWIT since 2019, and I started as a board member, actually the board treasurer. And when they asked me, like, what do you want to do? Do you want to be the treasurer? And I said, okay, yeah. Because I had no idea what that entailed. And had I known what that entailed, I probably wouldn't have asked for that. But I'm glad I did because I learned so much. That was a learning opportunity. But as our board leadership has changed, I, was the board chair. And the reason why I'm not currently the board chair is because I'm the interim executive director at the organization.
And one of the things that I know that we discussed and you've been sharing throughout our conversation is you've not done it alone, that there's always been support through the ups and downs and the challenges. Why is that important for PDXWIT to offer that and to be able to avail that to the members of the organization? Yeah.
When you Google my name and you spell it correctly, not like Rihana the singer, like a lot of stuff that comes up is me, me on the news or me doing these programs I did a program with Nickelodeon, like all of these things that are incredible. My resume is incredible and I have no shame in saying that. But the only reason why it's incredible is because the entire time when I felt like I didn't belong or when I felt like I was too tired or when I felt like I wasn't good enough, there was somebody behind me that said, no, you should be a mechanical engineer. No, you are the person we need in grad school. No, you are the voice that we want to hear. And they weren't doing it in a way that was like they were trying to pump up their diversity numbers or show they were woke or anything like that. These were people that truly saw me, tapped me on the shoulder, or lovingly pushed me into success. And it was a group effort for me to get to where I am. And I like to talk about that because, you just see someone and you don't see their full journey. And it can feel discouraging, especially for folks who want to get into tech. They see this resume and they're like, oh, well, I have to do all these different things. And that's not true. Because if it wasn't for other people pushing me into it, I wouldn't be here.
So many times other people are observing us in ways that we don't do that self-reflection. And they do tap you and say, hey, you're kind of good at, am I? And there's always that question, like you don't realize it. So I think, yes, we can never do it alone. It takes a village, as they say. And I think that your story and your journey and the effort that you all are making around that is proof of concept and the importance
100%.
Of that.
Yeah.
So give me a little bit of your background, like where you hail from and your journey to, not quite to what you're doing right now, but let's say your education and things that you enjoyed doing when you were younger?
So my dad was in the military for 20 years. So most of my life, I was in a new place every 3 years. And I spent 6 years of my life living in Japan, which, as a Black kid in a country where there's not a lot of diversity, it was just like, it took me until being an adult to see how that has impacted my views, especially around equity and inclusion. So we bounced around, and then when my dad retired from the military, we moved to Oregon because he got a job in Intel. And I went to high school in St. Helens, Oregon. Do you know where that is?
Yes, I do.
I know. Once again.
Okay.
Once again.
Yes.
One of the only Black people.
Yes.
In the whole city.
Yes.
So it was very rural, and it was a tough high school experience. And the minute I could leave St. Helens, I did. And but like my higher education journey was very challenging. I've had a lot of time to reflect, and I should have taken time off before I went to college. Because I went to my first year, I went up to Canada, and I picked the school I went to because my grandma lives up there and she was ill, so I wanted to be closer to her.
Was that UBC?
It was UBC in Kelowna.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So more of the valley.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cool, but like I just didn't vibe well, and I decided to drop out. As soon as I could, I applied to Portland State University and moved to Portland and have been in the Portland area ever since. And my education, I'm a mechanical engineer. And it took me, I dropped out once, and then I had to drop out of school again because, technology and engineering careers, you don't see a lot of people that look like me, and I didn't have the support that I needed to be successful. So it took multiple times going through, and now I'll be finishing up a master's degree in the next couple of months in mechanical engineering.
I love the fact that there's this through line. First of all, you had to learn to adapt a lot because of you moving in the military. So me being a military person for 10 years, my children grew up in the military, so I understand that. And you had to learn how to make friends.
Yeah.
And it becomes a skill in many ways where it's a superpower. Because it's out of necessity. You have to find a way to connect.
Yeah.
And so when you start thinking about this idea of technology and connection, and right? So,
totally.
But I'm not going to go there yet because I'm still really curious about your journey in mechanical engineering and not seeing representation and not feeling that you had support. And so was there a moment, I want to go back to the origin story though.
Yeah.
Was there a moment when you were drawn to engineering or computers or something that made you want to study that? Was there a specific moment you remember?
100%. So I had always been interested in technology, and my dad really was like all about it. And when he found out that I was kind of interested in technology, he pushed me to take technology classes in St. Helens High School because they had a really great vocational program there. And I had a teacher named Jim Searstad. Hopefully you're watching this. And he was just the best. I was the only girl in the class, the only person of color in the class. And the ways that he treated me different was like, you're doing really great. I want to give you more work. And was so supportive. And I felt like that was the space that I wanted to be in. He created space for me to be successful, and that was the first time. And I ended up taking the ASVAB test, the military placement test.
Know it well.
Yep. And I scored so high on engineering, and when I told him that, he's like, you need to be a mechanical engineer. That's where you need to be. And I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know any engineers in my life, so when he said that, I was like, okay, sure, I'll try it out. And those introductory classes and all of that stuff was like, I felt like this is where I need to be. This is what makes my brain work. I am excited about the work. And the thing about mechanical engineering is you can start there and you can go anywhere. You can be a civil engineer. You can become an electrical engineer. You can become aeronautics.
Like Swiss Army knife, yes, in many ways.
Definitely. So that drew me into it. And it really was a teacher in high school that saw something in me and said, this is where you need to be. I spoke at my high school graduation, they asked like what teacher has the biggest impact on you, and so I talked about Mr. Searstad. And one of the funniest stories that like again, it made me feel like I belong. Like sat back in a chair and I was like, ugh, I'm too beautiful for hard labor. And my teacher was like, nobody's too beautiful to get off their ass and work.
Oh, wow.
And it was just such a funny moment. Like, it like I was part of the group. I was part of the team, and he probably has no idea how much that meant to me and how much that made me feel like I belonged there. And yeah, that's what pushed me into engineering and, helped me keep coming back to it after I had felt like I had failed so many times.
I love the fact that in your origin story, and I can relate to this because of my journey, there was a teacher who was my catalyst, if you will, Miss Lane, and she gave me permission to dream big with 2 words, why not? And so I think that teacher for you basically encouraged you, and you actually use that word encouragement, but also the sense of belonging and feeling like you could be there.
Yeah.
Even though you stood out and you were different, you were unique, which makes so much sense what you're invested in right now. Because yes, you felt like an other, you felt like you were isolated, but yet there was someone encouraging you, no, don't run away from this. You do belong here. And I think that's what's really beautiful about the work you're doing now and the importance of the work you're doing. But your journey is so important too, because you can speak from a place of knowing.
Right now, I'm the interim executive director at Portland Women in Technology, and I don't have a graduate degree. So it's like, how I, like, all the work that I've put in has helped me be as successful as I am. So at this point, it's just, the diploma on the wall.
Yes. But I don't think it's ever, this is something I can speak from a place of knowing and understanding. It's not necessarily the credential itself, like that I, advanced to my degree. It's also like your worldliness and your experiences that account for a lot of that too. And so you probably got a doctorate actually already. The amount of work and amount of time and investment. So that master's in mechanical engineering is just kind of like, that's a nice to have, because the work you've been putting in and the energy and the effort, I think that speaks for itself. And so that knowledge and that idea, why did you decide that you wanted to invest your time and energy in the Portland Women in Tech?
So when I dropped out of PSU, the mechanical engineering, the first time, my mom, hi Kelly, mom, she was worried. She's like, if you leave college, it's going to be really difficult for you to go back. Which is very true. So I ended up getting a job in their facilities department at PSU. So it's like, well, I'm not fully leaving Portland State. So I worked as an employee for a number of years. So I ended up having this like really unique perspective. Professors treated me different because I was a staff member taking classes. And I ended up having this, understanding of a lot of the processes and, if you need to make a complaint because someone's being racist or sexist or whatever-ist, like I just knew all those avenues. And I also got to a point, because I went back, and I was in my mid-20s, and that I just didn't take any BS from anybody. So if someone was making it difficult for me, I made noise. And what ended up happening is students, who are the historically underrepresented, started hearing me make noise, and they were coming to me and telling me these problems. And, I was working with them, and then I was working on my grad degree, and it was emotionally exhausting because it felt like I was playing whack-a-mole and like trying to solve these individual problems. And when I was approached, somebody recommended me for the board of, on PDXWIT. And when I was approached and I learned about the organization and what it was doing, it was giving me an avenue to help solve those problems, but at a much greater level. So instead of me helping on an individual level, I could help at a community level, at an industry level, and have a much bigger impact, as well as having the support from the people in the organization so that I could, help these folks that are coming to me and helping them, advocate for themselves without it taking so much of my own energy and taking away from my studies.
When you first started investigating joining it, like, did you look at, like, how long has this been in place and what's the backstory? And so what did you discover about Portland Women in Tech that really drew you to it?
When someone was like, oh, you should be on a board, and I'm like, boards are for, like, wealthy retirees who are just, like, want something to do. When they, came to me, like, this scrubby grad student with, like, holes in my pants and, going and getting the free coffee and donuts at the... it just felt really weird. But I had someone that I trusted. Again, it was someone who saw something in me, tapped me on the shoulder, and said, you should do this. And I trusted my gut because this was a woman who was a major leader in the Portland area. Tracy Rossi, hi. And she said, no, this is where you belong. They need your voice. And then the current executive director at the time, I met with her and we had this really, long discussion because of that experience of playing whack-a-mole and trying to support all of these individual people. Like, I didn't want to put my time and energy into something that didn't feel like was going to have a big impact. And when I showed up to my first PDXWIT event, I was in a room of hundreds of people who, had a very similar experience to me and were seeking community because they were the only one in their team, the only one at their company. And it was overwhelming. Like, I got so emotional. I went to the event and cried afterwards because I had never been in a room like that in Portland. Not at that like intense tech level. So after that, I was into it. I was sold, and I felt like, here's where I can have an impact. Here's where I can make a difference and make it easier for folks to get into positions like where I am now. Yeah,
and I love the fact that you found a community not knowing that they were available.
100%.
And thinking, a lot of times we feel like we're the only, right? No one else understands. And then to discover, like, wow, there are all these other people who get it. Oh man, belonging.
Yeah.
Right? It's so critical and important, even more so now, right?
100%.
The sense of belonging, but even more reaching back to younger, because you remember your younger self and the struggles you had trying to figure out where to belong.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you found this tribe, you found this community, and then you felt uplifted to, like, raise your voice even more and to lean into this board position that you didn't think you deserved or didn't think that you belonged, or like, this is like too soon for me. And you're in now. And so what year was that you joined the board?
2019.
Okay, so right as soon as you join, the pandemic hits. And now there's not necessarily probably in-person events and opportunities to meet up. How are you navigating this time to build community and to keep the community together? What were you guys doing? Were there specific events you were designing?
We had been talking for a long time about we need to make virtual events because in-person events aren't accessible for everybody. And there was this long conversation of like, okay, we should go virtual. But it just felt like a huge undertaking because it's a huge shift in our paradigm. But when COVID hit, most of the benefit that we give to the community is our events, is helping build those connections. And PDXWIT wouldn't survive unless we made a major pivot into virtual events. So immediately, as soon as things were shutting down, as soon as we knew, like, we're not going back in person anytime soon, we invested in new technologies, we retooled a lot of our events, we struggled our way through these clunky softwares, to try to continue to maintain community as we're going through the pandemic. One area where we were very successful is there were a lot of people switching jobs. Right. They talk about it now as the Great Resignation.
Yes.
And one thing that we were able to do is make these direct connections with recruiters and tech companies with a larger population. Because if you're at a table at an event, you maybe have 2 minutes to talk to a recruiter. But if we set them up in these virtual Zoom rooms and have it make it more accessible, we're able to support the community in a much bigger way. So we have been able to make a much bigger impact. And then on top of that, one of our events that happened in the last couple months. I can't remember the exact event, but we have people from Africa tuning into our events. We had someone from Africa apply for our scholarship program. So not only are we able to be a national organization, but it's becoming international, which, I mean, I did a little dance when I found out someone from Lagos knew who we were and wanted to engage with us. Like, that's incredible. So now we can have a much broader impact in the tech industry because of this virtual presence.
I've always noted that there was power in this pause. And there were, given there was a lot of loss and a lot of heartache, but there were also these blessings and amazing things that have come out of it. Your story is just another one of those confirmations that not only could you actually bring the community even more so together, but you could avail to them resources that maybe weren't available before.
Exactly.
And put people on and unlock opportunities and to extend your reach.
Exactly.
And I love this idea. I always call it glocal, right? It's like to, think locally but act globally, so be global kind of deal. And so you all now have this global organization. Its roots are here in Portland, but Lagos, Nigeria, right? Which is amazing. And for people of color, right, or underrepresented communities have a place in this tech space, which I think is so powerful. And now you talk about scholarships, you talk about offer, opportunities for talent recognition, for getting, being a hiring destination and being able to do job placement opportunities. What is probably one of the things that you're most proud of?
We were able to tell people, why not? We were able to tell people, no, you belong here. And the reason why you belong here is because we need your voice. Because look at technology is ruling our world now. And if we don't have representation, like, technology might not support everybody in the world, So it's really important, for us to have diverse voices, because not only, diversity in people on a team is just going to have diversity in thought, and you're just going to be more innovative. You're going to be able to support more people. Companies are going to make more money. You look at it that way.
There's plenty of research around that richness of the room, right, and experiences, because diversity is not just in hues, right?
Exactly.
It's also in experiences and journeys and stories and origin stories. All that brings the richness to a room, which then creates more opportunities for breakthrough innovation and opportunities around that.
Exactly. And what we're able to do is we're able to tap people on the shoulder and say, no, you can do this. No, you can belong here. And give people the opportunity to see where they can be. And I've got a great example. I talk about this all the time because I'm so proud of my friend Bess. But when the pandemic hit, she was working in, restaurants. So she was unemployed and, for most of 2020. And her and I were on a camping trip. I had this conversation with Bess about, like, okay, well, what's going on? What are you doing? Like, how is the pandemic impacting you? And she made a comment along the lines of, well, this is my time to pivot. Like, I can do something else, and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. And I was like, oh, you should look into a code school. They want more people in tech. You work customer service. Like, working in a restaurant is insane amounts of customer service. Especially as a server, like, you need to know how to work with people, and they need folks like that in tech. They need more than just the people who are brilliant behind a computer. They need folks who can explain what's behind the computer.
They need storytellers.
Exactly. So I encouraged her. I was like, Bess, find a code school, go to it. And, that conversation happened early summer, and then she calls me in the fall. She's like, I got into a code school. And then I was like, cool. Apply for a PDXWIT scholarship. I'm not on the scholarship committee. So I had no, control over it. And I was like, apply for a scholarship, because our scholarships at the time were focused on people pivoting into tech because of COVID. She got a scholarship. And then, in the spring after she had graduated, she got a job and she works in tech. And it was like, oh my goodness, your salary tripled. All it took was someone being like, hey, you should consider it. Like, it was an offhand conversation.
Just why not?
Yeah.
And also, but you had to have visibility into the opportunities.
100%.
There had to be someone who understood that, hey, you're open to pivoting? you know what? This is a skill you can learn. You can work anywhere with this within the tech industry. It's going to always be a necessary skill. You can grow in this. How do the scholarships work? Like, how is that set up?
Yeah.
Are they, certain kind of seasons or certain kind of focuses? How do they work?
So twice a year, we have a spring and fall application process. And it's, I'm trying to grow the scholarship program because I see the impact. People can write to us and say, hey, I need a new laptop, or I want to go to a code school, or there's someone who just received a scholarship for this spring who wanted to create a drone building class for people of color in Portland. So we are pretty flexible in what our scholarship funds go towards, but we need to put our money in the hands of people who are going to do great things in the tech industry and who don't have that access. So, twice a year, we have many people write into us, and it's like, I want to help everybody. And so I'm like working and raising money, but it has such a big impact, because what we're doing with this money, what that money means is you have a dream or you have a need, and we believe in you.
How many people are within the organization?
Oh, man. Yeah, so right now, our staff is pretty small. We're a staff of 4.
Small and mighty. That's it.
But then, our organization is powered by volunteers. So we have about 100 volunteers that work on all aspects. Our job board, our website, our events, our mentorship program, our scholarship reviewers. We just have volunteers powering the organization because they believe in the work that we do. And right now we have about 8,500 members.
What did you just say?
8,500.
8,500? Really?
Yeah. But this is, we are connected with women. We're connected with
But I'm just saying underrepresented. Yes,
underrepresented.
Everything.
Yeah.
But that's still powerful.
Yeah.
8,500 people.
Yeah. And that's like, not just in Portland. It's like going everywhere.
Well, you just mentioned Lagos, Nigeria.
Yeah.
Just the fact that you have this global reach, but its origins are here, which tie back to First Tech, right?
Yeah.
1952. You see what I'm doing here? It's John Nash Beautiful Mind moment right here. I'm pulling all the string together here for you. Rihana, this is what I do. Okay, so look, we're going to have some fun real quick. Okay, so there's a new show on Netflix. Have you seen it yet? Called The Future Of.
No.
Okay, so I started watching it. I love it. So I actually printed this out, and these are the different topics down at the bottom. The show is about this, right? It's an ambitious look into the future of technology and innovation. Sure. And I love what they say. This innovative docuseries examines new and emerging technological trends to imagine revolutionary possibilities. But the stories, the future of dogs, dating, houseplants, gaming, space vacations, cheeseburgers, death, fashion, skyscrapers, sports, health, and headphones. So I want you to gaze over that list there. What would your top 3 things that you'd want to know about the future of from this list? I can already tell you what I've looked at. I've looked at fashion and sports and health would be my 3. Cheeseburgers was a close one there too. But
I'm trying to figure out what cheeseburgers is about.
I know. So what would you like to see in your top 3 of those?
My top 3, well, I'd probably say space vacations because a lot of my master's work was all about space. I did a lot of work on the International Space Station. Name drop there.
Well done.
No shame. I'm telling you what I'm all about. I worked with astronauts in space.
Yes.
So I definitely do space vacations. Right now, one of my COVID, I became a plant parent to maybe not hundreds of plants, but maybe hundreds of plants have passed through my house.
Yes.
And I've got about 40 of them.
So,
still alive. So I need some technology.
You got like a boarding, or like plants can board there? Like people can drop their plants off, you take care of them when they go on vacation? Is it like one of those things?
No.
I might have just gave you an idea.
Yeah.
I might just gave you an idea.
With only a 40% success rate in my houseplants, I don't think I'm ready.
You're not ready for boarding. You're not ready. Okay.
Boarding.
So space vacations.
Space vacations, houseplants, and I would probably say death.
Oh.
Yeah, because...
Tell me more.
Everybody dies. Everybody dies. And it is a life-changing experience for the people who are watching or experiencing a loved one die. Recently my mother-in-law passed away, and just, thinking about ways that technology not only helped her through this and helped us manage, it's like she needed, towards the end of her life, she needed a lot of care and visibility. But like, if you gotta do chores, you can't be by that person's side. So there's all this technology of like, almost like a baby monitor to keep people together. And the way that our healthcare system is set up, to, monitors people's lives and what they're going through. I'm really interested of what, I don't know if you've heard some of these like Space Age or these, shows that are coming out of uploading your consciousness.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You saw that episode of Black Mirror?
Oh, absolutely. I know what you're talking about.
The only happy episode of Black Mirror.
Yes,
but that was
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, uploading your consciousness.
Absolutely.
Like, what does that mean? What does that look like?
That might be in that episode.
Maybe.
I'm just.
Yeah.
So, now that I know what you into, space vacations, houseplants, and death, I'm gonna be paying attention to you. I'm just saying. I just broke you down, Rihana. I just broke you down. Like, in simple terms, there you are. Right?
I should have been a god. Right? Like, that's the one thing.
I mean, you got these bright, beautiful colors on, but now I know underneath all that,
I'm very interested in death.
Yes, you're very interested in death. Yeah, and the science and technology behind that. Yeah. Yes, so you will be cryogenically freezing yourself at some
100%.
Yeah, see, I know these things, right?
100%.
And giving out scholarships for folks, right? I mean, you're waiting for that one student to actually put that proposal in.
Yeah.
Around that. Yes, I'd like to propose that if I could do a space vacation and bring my houseplants and never die. Oh, you'd be like, give them the largest scholarship ever.
Yeah, 100%. I want to be a human popsicle, and then bring me back later.
I love it. So, if someone wants to get involved with Portland Women in Tech, PDXWIT, if you will, like, how would they do that?
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy. So to be a part of the community, all you have to do is sign up for our newsletter and join our Slack channel. We want to make sure that everything is barrier-free because our mission is to dismantle inequities, create access, and fuel belonging.
So they can donate, they can support in other ways?
Yeah, so if you want to donate, you can go to our website.
What is the handle?
PDXWIT.org is where we are. It's easy.
It's right there. There you go. Right there. Yes.
PDXWIT. Just Google it, and we're the first thing that comes up.
Yes.
So you can donate, but we really encourage corporate sponsorship. So we appreciate individual donations, but it's, again, like, don't feel like you have to donate to be part of the community. The ways that in which people can help is show up to events. See what you can learn from there. Make connections with people. Sign up to be a mentor. Even if you don't feel like you can be a mentor, any lived experience you have, you can impart knowledge onto somebody else. You can join us as a volunteer. We're always looking for new volunteers. If you're a photographer, we have spaces for you. If you feel like you're a great event planner, we have space for you. If you are, want to be a part of a podcast, we have a small little podcast going, you can join that group too. So we have all of these areas for you to get involved. And, if you need the support, you come to us and we'll support you. I believe in people and their capabilities that I want you there. I want you to be in tech. While our organization focuses on specifically folks who are from traditionally marginalized communities, the work we do helps everyone in tech. We're pushing companies, put your salary in the job description. That helps everybody. Yes. We want you to have better parental leave. Helps everybody. More transparency with your benefits and your leadership styles. That helps everyone in the tech industry, not just folks who are marginalized. So we are bringing everybody up with us.
I love the fact that you've got this holistic offering and welcoming. Being so welcoming, because one thing that a lot of folks aren't aware of is that marginalized communities always tend to be the most welcoming of others. And so your behavior is in alignment with that
Yeah.
attitude and mindset, which I love. And I think even more so, I don't know if they're going to lift that interim thing from you, but they should. I don't know if you want that, but you have this lovely, lovely, approachable energy. And so to just be able to know there's an organization in a space that's so important right now and is not going away, is only going to grow, is making this available and bringing visibility to marginalized communities and underrepresented communities, that this is here for you.
Yep.
So, Rihana, Mungin,
What's up?
you are like boss lady. I enjoy you. I know our audience has enjoyed you. And I know your mom and your dad are super proud of you. There's no way they're not. I'm going to close us out real quick, but I thank you so much for your time and
Thank
your
you.
energy and your
love it.
effervescent personality. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 2 of More Than with my amazing guest, Rihana Mungin, right, of PDXWIT, Portland Women in Tech. Right, I just know that you all will love this episode, but more importantly, lean in and support them because tech's not going away. We're trying to raise the game and everybody level up in their ability to create belonging in communities and opportunities. I appreciate you. First Tech, you know it's all love. Godspeed, peace and play, game on.